Blade Runner 2049 is a sequel to the famous film Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford. Blade Runner 2049 picks up 30 years after the original, where replicants have remained outlawed other than these new models they're bringing in that, so say, obey people and are less likely to revolt and go off on their own, which was the problem from the first film. Ryan Gosling is one of these models, and he works for the LAPD as a Blade Runner. Blade Runners being people that track down and retire, because you can't kill something that isn't alive, defective units. The film starts off really strongly with him confronting Dave Bautista at a farm, and you get a feel for the characters, the visual style, and then it moves on to a plot where Ryan Gosling begins to investigate the possibility of a replicant that can reproduce and give birth, and then you've got the questions thrown up as to, well, if they can give birth and recreate, are they actually a species, and therefore can we go around just killing them willy-nilly, because ultimately they may have souls, etc. And the ultimate goal in this film is they're trying to locate the child that was born to one of the replicants, and that replicant being the one that Harrison Ford goes off with at the end of the original film. Hence the need to locate Harrison Ford and try and get to the bottom of where everyone is. The film's really long. It's 2 hours 45 minutes, and some people say it needs to be longer. I think you could shake easily 30 to 40 minutes out of it and not lose any of the atmosphere, plotting or impact of the film. But if you're going to go see it, you just need to get over the fact that it's going to be really long. When I was in the cinema with my mates, there were couples that came in clearly on dates and you could tell that the ladies didn't quite know what they were going to see, and they were being, let's just say, they were forcefully leading their boyfriends out to the cinema at about the 2 hour mark, when they realised that it was probably going to be another hour sitting down in there, which did make me chuckle, but just bear that in mind. As far as the visuals go, it looks great. There's really creative elements to it. The only query I did have was no one else seems to drive a car in this one. The only cars you ever see are police cars, and there's not many of them on screen at once, ever, in the film. You only ever seem to see Ryan Gosling's car driving around, so that was something that just wasn't addressed and wasn't answered, and just seemed a little strange. You had this big cityscape that just seemed empty, like a ghost town. There are very, very good, clever effects with this hologram character, who I won't go into too much because it will spoil it, but there is some excellent visual work with that. All of the effects otherwise integrate well, as you might expect for a film like this, where it's just had money poured all over it. The characters are good. There's a character played by Jared Leto, who's like the CEO of the main company responsible for replicants, and he acted very well by Jared Leto when he comes across as an individual personality that you can remember, but I don't know why he was in the film. He could have not been in the film at all, and this is part of the half hour you could have shaken out of the film. You could have just had him giving instructions from another location, and it wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference, because his character ultimately has no impact on the plot, and it just felt like they thought they needed to include another character. Ryan Gosling is really, really good in it. He doesn't break from the character once, and he gives it a really, really good performance. Harrison Ford's fine. To be honest, I didn't need to see him in it. He doesn't turn up till the last hour, and when he does, he just seems like they woke Harrison Ford up and told him to start acting, and then they'll give him the money. You know, I'm not saying he does a bad job, he just seemed really out of place. He was the most out of place element in the film. And yes, he is a replicant, basically, if you're wondering. The Other main characters are two female leads. One is the hologram character, she's really well acted, and the other one is a female replicant who's a personal assistant come assassin, and she is really well done as well. You keep flip-flopping whether or not you like her character or not, and that really helps with the film. Overall, I think it's worth watching. It was really enjoyable on the big screen. I saw it in 3D, and there's only maybe 20 minutes of footage in it that's worth watching in 3D. Maybe it's better to watch in IMAX, but to be honest, there's only so much you can do with 3D, and I think it's dying a death. This film, I don't believe it was specifically filmed in 3D, and I wouldn't waste your money on the extra ticket price to view it that way. Just go somewhere that's comfortable so you can sit for a long time. So Blade Runner 2049, I was really impressed by it, and it's the kind of film that you have to digest for a period of time afterwards, and form your views rather than just having a knee-jerk come out of the cinema. Or what do you think of that? Oh, the only other thing that's really good in it, Ryan Gosling's coat. He's got a totally badass coat that, you know, if you bought it, you'd look like some twat that's wearing a coat off Blade Runner, whereas when he wears it, it just looks cool. But that's just a little aside. When I came out, I said it to my friend, and he had exactly the same sentiment as me. And I'm sure we're not the only ones to think of it, but his coat, there's some very good coat acting. So yeah, just a little aside there. Let me know what you think of it.